topic of the day, and that's to scale or not scale. As stated, if you know anything about safe, less, Scrum at scale. Safe, less, Scrum at scale. You're welcome to join the conversation, right? You can join the conversation by dropping something in the chat, or you are welcome to join the show by actually jumping on to the actual link. I'll send the link out again once I'm done talking about the topic, or when I'm close to being done talking about the topic, to give you an opportunity to join. So let's have this conversation real quick. So scaling. A lot of people still think, let me separate that. Normal people don't think scaling is a problem, okay? If you are normal and you've been around Agile for some period of time, it is, and you're normal, right? You likely are not totally against scaling. You may be utilizing scaling in some way to make some money, okay? If you work in any company of any reasonable size, the question of scaling is always going to come up. How do we proliferate this, or we make it successful across many, many teams? What do we need to do? Can you give me the playbook? Okay? So I don't believe in my heart that at this point, scaling is taboo, right? It is the norm. It is the norm. If I was to go out and look for scaling jobs that ask for some form of scaling, I'm probably going to see 25 to 50% of them say something about scaling. So I would firmly say that that's beyond the norm, right? That is very normal to think that way. So the question isn't to scale or not to scale. It is no longer the question. You are likely going to scale. Period. Before there was ever any scaling frameworks that existed. So if you think about the first one that really popped out, well, can I really say it's the first one? I can't say that because less could have came around before it, right? But when scaling just hit and went boom was in 2011 when Dean Leffingwell decided to talk about the Scale Agile framework. Boom, it became a real topic, right? Now, here's the deal. No matter what company you're at, if you're a Scrum Master or somebody that's dealing with Scrum or Kanban or Agile of any kind, scaling will come up sooner or later when you have 3 or more teams, 2 or more teams, whatever it is going to come up later, okay? And what I will fundamentally say to you is that none of the scaling frameworks offer anything that wasn't available already, right? They may have their special names, they may have their core competencies or core values, or they may have certain principles, but the truth is, most of those things existed. So if you talk about lean portfolio management, it existed. It existed, right? Did you talk about, if you talk about a framework that existed that took a lot of these disparate practices together and packaged them, that didn't exist. That did not exist. And that's the beauty of the scaling frameworks. The beauty of the scaling frameworks is them packaging several of these things together to say, hey, here's a prescription or a framework, whatever you want to call it, on how to take this whole Agile concept and scale it across several teams. Allow several teams to collectively be productive when doing it. Does that make sense? Very, very, very serious, okay? Now, so that means, were we scaling prior? Yeah. I had a team that was 200 people About 14 to 17 teams is what we had, right? So we've done scaling prior to these frameworks existing, right? Because if you worked in any company of any size, like a Google or Yahoo or Microsoft has been doing Scrum and Kanban and everything else long before 2011 or before we actually packaged it together, right? And so there was always books out there about scaling, right? The most popular one was probably from Dean Leffingwell, right? I remember being at USA and us getting Dean on a call so we can talk to him about scaling before SAFe came out, right? So realistically, there's no reason why you should be against scaling. Now, I'm going to tell you who's against scaling. Unfortunately, many of the agile thought leaders are against scaling. Just are. They're just purists, right? And as a purist, I have that purism in my heart, right? But at the end of the day, here's the truth. I couldn't look at one of these frameworks that exist, not one of them, and complain about anything or any of the content that is in most of them. I guarantee you that I would have no problem with the individual practices that exist in them. I would guarantee you, maybe I may have a complaint about 10 to 20% of it, of the individual practices that exist, the individual things that have come from other places. I would use those things individually. So when I package them together, and just because they're not packaged perfectly, I'm not going to say that it's a bad thing, okay? Not at all. I'm not of that belief whatsoever. Now, if you took my CSM class or my CSPO class, I have to be dogmatic with you because I'm teaching you to pass a test. I have to. I don't have a choice because you got to know things a certain way, and I can't get around that part, right? However, if I'm on the ground with the client, I'm way more flexible. Why? Because I find that no matter what you do, you have to customize it to work for the client. So, I'm going to show you a couple pictures, talk about a few things when it comes to this whole scaling thing, and then we're going to move on. And we're going to answer any questions and allow anybody who's worked with any of these frameworks to join me. I would love somebody to jump on the line and talk with me about this after I have this 5 to 10 minute conversation. It's only gonna take me 5 to 10 minutes to talk about it, right? And then join me and talk about your experience with it. Seriously, right? So, here's the deal. Let's talk, all right? Big deal here. First and foremost, let's give all respect to those that have come before to help set this thing up. The signers of the Agile Manifesto, there was many people who had many experiences that have contributed to this, right? And so what I want to show you first to start off is the Scaled Agile Framework, or what many people will call SAFe, okay? Now, people got all their jokes about SAFe, but here's the one true statement. It's the dominant scaling framework. It's the dominant scaling framework, okay? I don't believe any other framework is touching SAFe still to this very day, and it became that way the moment it came out. So you can go back to the first version of it, and it was more popular than anything that existed prior to it. So, hats off to the creator, Dean Leffingwell, for that. And the truth is, I was reading Dean's books prior to him having the scaling framework. So, I get it. I get the statement that I have a problem with Dean not giving, any credit to the Scrum Guide, Agile in general. Hey, it is what it is. But I would say to you really simply, none of these guys have given Dean any respect either, okay? None of these guys that have given Dean any respect either, right? So anybody that's joining us, I'm going to put you in the green room and we can have a conversation. So just know I'm coming to you. Let me finish this conversation and we can talk, okay? So when it comes to SAFe, really SAFe is It's great. Now, have I personally seen it work on everything? No, I have not, right? Have I seen a lot of bad? Yes, I have, right? But everything that's in SAFe, I like. So if you look at this SAFe 5.1, right? And if I go down one side of this, right? I'm going to try to make my adapter isn't acting right. So I'm going to make this big, even though it may go back smaller, right? So I'm making it big for you for a moment. But if it just breaks out, just know that I told you because my adapter is not working. But if you look here, what's wrong with organizational agility? What's wrong with lean portfolio management? Enterprise solution delivery, agile product delivery. You just look on that one side, team and technical agility, right? Continuous learning culture, like building a learning organization. And here's the thing about SAFe. SAFe has 4 configurations. This right here is the full configuration of SAFe, period. There are 4 configurations, okay? And you can go to SAFe website and see all this stuff. There's nothing, all this stuff is publicly available. Don't hide from it. Go learn about it, right? And so as I look, I know that there's a portfolio configuration. You can see that at the very top. There's a large solution. You can see that kind of right below the portfolio, right? There's the essential stuff. And then there's the whole kit and caboodle. There's the big whole thing. But look at some of the stuff that's in the essential. You got Scrum. I don't have no complaints about Scrum. You got XP, Kanban. I don't have no complaints about that. Design thinking, no complaints whatsoever. Continuous delivery, building a pipeline for continuous delivery. Nothing wrong with that. That's something we always try to teach. That's something we always try to do. There's nothing surprising about anything that he is displaying right here with the essential stuff. DevOps, what's wrong with that, right? You think about building in quality. That comes straight out of lean. That comes straight out of lean. What about having context around a solution? Now, 6-week product increments, I might complain about, right? I may complain about that. But when I look at everything else, I only can complain about 10, 20% of it. That's all I can really do. I can't really complain, right? I see a Scrum Master. I see a product owner. I see developers or whatever it's called. I even see a release train engineer. They work at a certain level. I even see solution train engineers. They work at a level above that at the large solution, right? So when I start looking at having a systems architect, all these different things for me are absolutely critical and important. But here's the deal. The truth of the matter is, if I look at SAFe for what it is, they describe SAFe as being there to enable business agility. That is required for enterprises to compete and thrive in a digital age. That is what SAFe is all about. Now, my statement is clearly this. If you don't know anything about SAFe, if you're against SAFe, that's cool. You got the right to your opinion. You really, really do. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I'm a certified Scrum trainer. I support it wholeheartedly. I tried to take the SAFe class back with Dean back in 2013, 2014. I had a schedule to take it with him, and I couldn't take it because I had to go do some work at Motorola. Literally, that's what happened, right? And so I didn't take it. I'm not SAFe certified or anything like that, right? I can't say that I promote the scaling frameworks. I don't support just one. Use whatever the best thing is that you can use. I always say pick the tool that works right for you. So to really round this out, to talk about it a little bit more about SAFe so we're on the same page. I told you SAFe was created by Dean Leffingwell. Look at him. He's right in the corner. He looks like a nice guy. He's amazing. I think he's pretty nice. I have not met Dean, but I talked to him on the phone when I was at USAA, and there was nothing that he said that was strange or weird. It was great. SAFe has a lot of certifications. It has a lot of roles that they can train you to do, right? So you got change analysts. You look all around here. You see a little bit of everything, ranging from training C-level executives to advanced Scrum Masters, software developers, right? Engineers, architects, lots of different types of training to help you work within that environment. And then they have literally 7 core competencies, I want to say. I don't know the exact words for it. But as I look here, enterprise solution delivery, Agile project delivery, right? Lean portfolio management. Well, we talked about those things earlier, right? We did talk about those things. But they have 7 core principles of values that I don't have displayed here, that if you actually go to their website, you will see them. You will see them. It's like on the first or second page of the website, right? So literally, there is absolutely nothing wrong with SAFe. The biggest problem that a lot of people have with SAFe, and the reason why they won't support it, is because some people are jealous of the money that SAFe has made. Some people are jealous of the impact that SAFe has had in the Agile community. You know, there was a time when people say Scrum and Agile. In my classes, what do I hear? Is Scrum and SAFe the same thing? You understand where I'm coming from? Is Scrum and SAFe the same thing? Right? You know, and I just had to explain it a little bit and say it's for scaling. It's different, right? Scrum is incorporated inside of that, right? So I get it. I'm with it. Okay? So, nothing wrong with SAFe. Go get your certifications. Go make your money. Period. Right? If you work for a large enough organization, they likely have experienced it or they're interested in it, currently doing it. You're going to learn something. If you're a release train engineer, you're going to learn something. If you're playing any of these roles within SAFe, any one of these roles within SAFe, you're going to learn something. So, again, I like Dean. I think he's done something amazing for the Agile community, and he solved a problem that existed. He solved a real problem because most of us that was in the Agile community was not providing business with a way to scale. Let me repeat that again, because you know, I give it to you unfiltered. Most of us that existed in the Agile community at that point in time was not solving the biggest problems that a lot of large companies was asking us to solve, and that was, I need to scale this across several teams. What can I do that is repeatable? Dean came in, locked it, made it happen. Okay? Nothing against that. Nothing against that, right? If you have been involved with SAFe or you're involved with SAFe, look, I don't care what your opinion is about it. Just write the word SAFe in the chat for me so I can see who has been involved with SAFe to some degree, right? So, again, you know, it's amazing. I got Joe writing a whole paragraph here for me. He's saying that SAFe cannot work without leadership support, right? I don't think any of these things can work very, very well without leadership support. So I agree with Joe, but if you go take any of the other scaling frameworks, can they work without leadership support? Probably not, right? So I'm not gonna hurt SAFe for that one. You know, I'm really not gonna down it for that one. But, hey, he came in and solved the problem. Realistically, that's what he did. Now I want to talk about a couple other things here because there may be some other scaling frameworks that you haven't heard about. Now, the next one I'm going to talk about is LESS. LESS stands for Large Scale Scrum. Now, again, do I agree with everything here? No. But take a look here. Do I disagree with system thinking? I don't. Matter of fact, I have found that the people that promote LESS, they're some of the best systems thinkers that I know. Like when I say to you, they are really taking an area and breaking it down in a way, starting off from bottom up and top down. It's like butter, baby. It really is like butter, right? Because they're talking about changing everything, right? So you can truly deliver faster, more efficiently, and everything else, right? So LESS offers something that I think is really amazing that I absolutely love, right? But you think about coaching, adoption, right? You think continuous improvement, a product owner team, right? You know, let's see, requirements areas, you know, finding ways to pull management in, figuring out the role of management, You think about the basics of Scrum, sprint reviews, retrospectives, kind of what's going to happen in the next sprint. Literally, when you think about less, I don't have any complaints. The thing that I will say to you about less is that it kind of operates in two different frameworks. You have one for 8 teams or less, and you have something for when teams get bigger than that. You know, I can tell you that, okay? So, great. Less is also amazing. It is super amazing. Now, here's the deal. Less was created by Craig Larman and Bas Bodie, right? And some of the things that you'll see within Less, you'll see the role of a Scrum Master. You'll see teams. You'll see a focus on featured teams, building communities, and flattening organizational structures, right? Finding ways to organize things by value. If you look at the picture, you see Craig on the left, Bas on the right. I mean, on my right, on your right too, that's Craig, right? With the little tie thing that looked like from Texas, that little thing. You know, so you see Craig there and Bas there. But think about the other things. Look, queuing theory. Where does that come from? Lean. Whole product focus, right? Transparency, right? Focusing on the customer, lean thinking, systems thinking, right? Empirical process control. All things that I 100% support. There is nothing about any of those things that are foreign whatsoever. So I will say to you, 100%, I love it. I love it. Absolutely love it. Okay? Let's take it a little bit further because I want to throw the framework out there that Jeff Sutherland created. I'm a Scrum guy, no question. But Jeff promotes the Scrum at Scale framework. Now, look, Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schwaber created, they created 2 different frameworks, but this is all Jeff right here. And if you look at this framework, it's another amazing one that's really Scrum at its core. Right? It's Scrum at its core. You got a Scrum Master cycle. You got a Product Owner cycle, right? You got executive action teams. You got executive meta scrums. But look at what you're dealing with. Visions, backlog prioritization, decomposition of a backlog, release planning, talking about continuous improvement, making sure we have cross-team coordination, focus on delivery, and having metrics and transparency along with that team process, all wrapped up in these 2 circles, so then you are continually delivering product increments, right? Nothing about this, any of this, is shocking to any of you all that know anything about Scrum whatsoever. Because when you're dealing with that product owner side, you're dealing with the what. When you're dealing with the Scrum Master side, you're dealing with the how. And the truth is, when I worked at Motorola, I had to focus on the what and the how very specifically based on the organizational structure. I have no complaints about Scrum at Scale. No complaints whatsoever. When I think about it, it's created by the man, Jeff Sutherland, the legend there, right? And at this most base level is the team. You have a Scrum for teams. Most of these things have some form of a Scrum, right? If you look at the picture that's above his head, you have an executive action team, and then you have 5 groups of 25 teams. That's scaling. That is scaling. It is scaling very differently than a SAFe. It is scaling, different than Less as well. But this is scaling, and this is the closest you're going to get to Scrum if Scrum is what you love. But that means that your organization got to think about structuring itself in certain ways to be able to do this, right? You really do. Now, what I did is I put the actual website for Scrum at Scale right there. But if you look at Scrum at Scale, look at it. Oh, there's not a lot of weight to that, is it? Look at Less. A little bit more to that, right? Look at SAFe. A lot more to that, right? Depending on your organization, depends on which one of these things is going to work better or not better for you, period. So the question is never right now. Right now in today's world, the question is not to scale or not to scale. There is absolutely nothing taboo about scaling. It's just not the question anymore. Any of you out here that's interested in this movement, period, that we call Agile, Scrum, Kanban, whatever you want to call it, you should know how to scale. I don't care if you utilize one of these frameworks. At the end of the day, most of your customers are looking for you to do one thing: deliver. Deliver consistently. That's it. If these things don't help you deliver consistently, it's a drop in the bucket. They don't care. They don't care, man. They don't care. Okay? So, that being said, as I start to drop and close this, because I said what I need to say about it, right? I'm going to drop the link in the chat, and you are welcome to drop your questions in the chat if you have any about this topic, or definitely about another topic, right? So I'm going to drop this link in the chat. I already got somebody on the line ready to join us. So I'm going to pull them in to join us in just a second. But again, you should not be fearing scaling, period. There's no reason for you to fear scaling. There are too many people out here that can help you get there, and too many trainings that you can take that can help you have an understanding. I would say, if you can go to a safe class and learn lean thinking and all those kind of things, or a less class and learn systems thinking and lean thinking, man, do it. Do it. Get a jump ahead of a lot of people, because a lot of people have sifted through all the nonsense to bring you something maybe easier to deal with, a little bit more palatable. Okay? A little bit more palatable, right? So, it's a beautiful thing.